Gonna be doing a spark plug change on my 2017 Chevy Silverado. It's got 135,000 on it already. So it's probably about due. Just kind of maintenance. These are the part numbers I'm using. I just went to local O'Reilly's and picked these up. You need to check your spark plug gap. These are, as they call them, gapless plugs. So they don't want you to actually make a change and change the gap. But they're supposed to be 35,000, so I have my 35,000 sealer gauge, and it just barely gets in there. Make sure you check all of them and make sure that they're all good. Likely, if there's a problem, they're either going to be scrunched way down or pulled way out, and it'll be obvious. But it's just kind of a go through them all to check it, make sure that they're right, rather than to just install it without checking and install one wrong and then have a misfire because of that. They do make a special tool for pulling these wires off, but you really don't need it. They do come off with a little bit of persistence, and if you have a little bit of finger strength, they'll come off not too bad. So some of these wires on the back side, especially where they're hard to reach, they were tough to get to. You can see my head mark right there from sweating. I actually found it was easiest when it was on there. I basically just twisted it right here on the rubber and the metal here until this rubber boot would turn. I don't think that that's going to be that hard on it if I'm only twisting it a half turn, because basically that rubber is seated on that plug and it hasn't moved for 130,000 miles. So by twisting it, kind of loosen it up, and then it'd pop off kind of like a newer plug wire should. Loosening these up, the only thing I can note is when I put the socket on, it doesn't always seem to be on right away. It's not wanting to suck right down in there, right? But just make sure the socket's on good and right before you start cranking on it, or you might strip it out. I'm using about a 3-inch extension on a 3/8 socket, 3/8 drive. So that works pretty good. It gets right past the headers. So I got my plugs out on this side. Just I'd show them quick. Honestly, they look like they're in great shape. I got that one a little bit dirty, but try to focus here on the tip of one of them. Ooh, it's still warm. You can see, maybe. So you can see exactly where it's hitting there. It's right where it's supposed to be, right where it's meant to be. You can see the color on these. It looks pretty good. This one might have had, this one too might have a little bit more oil than the rest, but otherwise they look really clean. They got that nice brown color to them, so the engine's running healthy without any issues there. So overall, plugs look like they're pulled out of a very healthy engine, which is what I expected it to be. So here's just a quick side-by-side of what the new versus old. So one thing to note while installing these, I like using just the wrench or socket and extension to put these in. You can use your finger to put them in, but basically you just gotta reach right in there carefully into the hole, and then you want to run these all the way in by hand. The torque is 11 to 13 foot-pounds. My torque wrench doesn't go that low, so I'm going to do it by hand, but it doesn't take much. 11 to 13 is not a lot. My wrench here is about 1 foot long, so I'm pushing about 11 to 13 foot-pounds worth. Nothing more. If you tighten them down too much, this is just an aluminum cylinder head here, so you can actually over torque these really easily. So something to be careful about. I'm going to go ahead and torque all these down now. You use some dielectric grease. This one's Loctite, but it's dielectric grease. Essentially you just put it right in there, and I always put in way too much, but I'd rather have way too much than not enough. And then you just slide your plug wire right back on, and you should feel a definite positive click when you get it on all the way. You should know it. Of course I don't know it, so there it was. Yeah, you can feel it right when that cap slides right on. You'll know it when you feel it. Just make sure that you get it on all the way. So I just wanted to point out this front one on the left side is a bit of a bear. to get to. It's right underneath these hoses. This hose, the heater core hoses, they sit right about there, and you can see where that plug wire was. Set this kind of up, just out of the way, and then your hand fits through and you can get to it. All right, so I hope you can see this. Here's my tire on the front right side, and if you look deep into there, you'll see my wrench. That's the back of the engine block there. That's the number 8 spark plug. This is actually way easier to get to it. You wouldn't think so, but there's actually a lot of room up here. I got my hand curled underneath the frame rail here around the exhaust, and then there's actually a lot of room for a wrench up here. So yeah, I can tighten down my spark plug from up here. I did have to trade my extension out from a 3-inch down to like a 1-inch, but that works fine. So at least to loosen this one and get the new one back in, it's definitely possible from the top side, but you got to stand on your head, and I'm not a fan of that. So I came around here on the bottom side, and it was pretty easy. I didn't even have to take any of these connectors off from my liner here, so just able to get right in there and get right at it from here. I like to just check what the temperatures are for the cylinders. Obviously there's going to be a little bit of variance in it, but basically that way I can check and make sure that every cylinder is still firing. So yeah, just a simple little check, and gives me a peace of mind that I know that every single spark plug is going to be working for me.